Welcome to Book by Book. Today, we're diving into a book that really pushes back against, the way we tend to work these days. It challenges that relentless pace.
Absolutely. We're looking at Richard Polak's work Smart Now, How to Jumpstart Productivity, Empower Employees, and Achieve More, which came out in 2021.
And it feels incredibly relevant. Polak basically distills decades of experience, right? Over 40 years advising big global companies.
That's right. And what he saw pretty much everywhere was this huge drain. Organizations losing time, losing money, because of inefficiencies that were often, well, kind of hidden in plain sight.
Hidden behind the busy badge.
Exactly. That's the core tension he flags. Being busy has somehow become this symbol of success, this thing people almost brag about.
Yeah, like, oh, I pulled an all-nighter, or my calendar's triple booked.
Right. But at the same time, actual productivity measures, they're often going down. Employee engagement, down. Personal satisfaction, definitely down. It's a paradox.
And it feels so personal, doesn't it? I mean, who hasn't had that morning where you just open your laptop and dread? The inbox is already a disaster zone.
Oh, completely. Or the calendar looks like a solid block of meetings.
And then you spend all day, maybe work late, answer emails on the weekend, and still, at the end of it all, you feel like you haven't actually accomplished much.
You feel drained, not productive. Polak really forces us to ask why that is. He argues this whole work harder mantra isn't just exhausting for individuals.
It's actually bad for business, too.
It's strategically damaging. He breaks down the real costs. You've got the obvious stuff like stress leading to health problems, people quitting.
Absenteeism, sure.
But also, and this is huge, presenteeism.
Ah, right. Being there, but not really there.
Exactly. You're logged in, maybe you're physically in the office, but your brain is just fried. Your focus is shot. So you're not actually producing anything of value. That's an enormous waste of resources, and it's terrible for well-being.
And the timing of this book, post-2020, feels spot on. The massive shift to remote and hybrid work. It threw gasoline on the fire, didn't it?
It really did. Flexibility is great, in theory,
Huh.
but it blurred all the lines. Digital overload went through the roof. Constant connectivity became the norm.
So the old ways, just demanding more hours in the chair or online, they just don't cut it anymore.
They're completely inadequate. Polak basically says if you try to manage a 21st century digital workforce with 20th century work harder ideas, you're just guaranteeing burnout. It won't work.
Which brings us to his core message, the main takeaway from the book.
Yes. His central thesis is that productivity isn't about volume. It's not about longer hours. It's not about grinding harder. It's purely about working smarter, intentionally.
And that means looking at the whole system.
The whole system.
Mhm.
You have to align your focus, the company culture, the tech you use, and this is critical employee well-being. Get those working together in sync.
That's when people actually thrive, and performance follows.
That's the idea. When people thrive, performance thrives. It's cause and effect.
He has that great quote summing it up. Something like,
Previous generations said work harder, but we've now learned we must work smarter. It captures that shift perfectly.
so our goal here in this summary is to really unpack that. We want to pull out the key ideas, the frameworks, the practical steps from Work Smart Now to help you, the listener, move from just being busy to being genuinely effective.
Let's dig in.
Okay, so where do we start? Polak introduces this idea early on that feels really foundational. He calls it the critical threshold.
Yes, this is such a crucial concept. It's basically about recognizing that point where putting in more hours stops helping and actually starts hurting your output.
The point of diminishing returns.
Exactly. He uses the classic diminishing returns curve framework. Think about it. You work, you produce. More hours, maybe more output, up to a point. But past that critical threshold, that peak,
Adding more time gives you less back.
less and less back. You might work 2 extra hours late at night, but maybe you only get, say, 15 minutes of truly useful work done. And worse, you're more tired the next day. You make more mistakes.
So it's actually counterproductive. You're digging yourself into a hole.
Precisely. It becomes this negative feedback loop. You feel behind, so you work later. Working later makes you less effective tomorrow. Feeling less effective makes you feel more behind, so you work late again.
Oh, I recognize that cycle.
Many people do. And Polak's research suggests that threshold, that point where returns diminish, is often much lower than we think, especially for work that requires deep thinking or creativity.
So not 60 or 70 hours a week.
For most people doing complex cognitive work, absolutely not. Pushing past 45, maybe 50 hours consistently, that often leads to real, measurable drops in quality. Decision-making gets worse, errors go up, creativity tanks.
And the irony is it's often the most dedicated people, the high achievers, who push themselves past that limit the most, right? Because they think more time equals more success.
That's the trap. They mistake input hours worked for output valuable results.
You mentioned a car engine analogy earlier, revving it past the red line.
Yeah, it fits perfectly. If you constantly redline an engine, you're not just going faster for a moment, you're causing damage, overheating, wear and tear. It eventually fails.
And we're doing that to ourselves, to our brains, our energy.
That's Polak's argument. Pushing past your cognitive redline creates this debt, a well-being debt, an attention debt. Yeah. And you have to pay it back eventually. You don't just lose productivity in those extra couple of hours. You might sabotage your focus and energy for the entire next day.
So from a management perspective, seeing someone consistently working 55 hours shouldn't be praised.
Polak argues it should be seen as a red flag, a sign of a system failure. Either the workload is unrealistic, the priorities aren't clear, or the resources aren't there. The employee is basically being forced to damage their own engine.
Okay, but if you're that employee, stuck in a culture that does seem to reward that visible hustle, how do you figure out your personal red line? It's scary to push back if you think it makes you look like a slacker.
It takes conscious effort. Polak's advice here is very practical. Become an observer of your own work. Track your time for a week, yes. But more importantly, track the quality of your output and how you feel.
So not just hours logged, but when did I feel sharp? When did I feel foggy? When did I make that silly mistake?
Exactly. Note the moments of flow and note the moments where fatigue hits, frustration builds, errors creep in. When does that wall typically appear for you? Is it 3 p.m.? Is it after lunch on Friday? Is it once you cross 40 hours in a week?
Finding your personal peak performance window.
Yes. And once you identify it, you can start setting boundaries to protect it. Real boundaries. Work within that high performance zone as much as possible. That's the essence of working smarter, not just longer.
That really shifts the perspective. It's not about doing less work. It's about doing your best work when you're actually capable of it, conserving your energy strategically.
Like Polak says, there's a precise moment between working enough hours to be productive and working too many hours, yielding a diminishing marginal return. Your job is to find and respect that moment.
Okay, so protecting those peak hours makes sense. But often the reason we can't is because of the environment, right? The organizational structure, the demands.
Absolutely. And that leads perfectly into Polak's next major point, which is key lesson 2. Culture is the real engine driving productivity. It's about people, not just tools.
This feels like a direct shot at companies that think buying the latest software is the magic bullet for productivity problems.
It absolutely is. Polak is pretty critical of this tech-first reflex. Companies spend fortunes on new platforms, AI tools, collaboration suites.
Hoping it'll fix things like poor communication or unclear goals.
Exactly. But Polak says they're treating the symptom, not the disease. You can have the fanciest project management software imaginable, but if the underlying culture lacks trust, psychological safety, clarity about what actually matters, or if leadership isn't aligned,
the tool just becomes another chore, another thing to log into.
Precisely. It adds complexity instead of removing it. It won't magically boost productivity if the human elements are broken.
I like his analogy of culture being the soil.
Yes, the soil where productivity grows. Tech is just the seed. If the soil is bad, if trust is low, if purpose is unclear, you can plant the best, most expensive seed and it just won't thrive.
We've all seen that happen, haven't we? A big, expensive software rollout, tons of training, and then nobody really uses it effectively because the why wasn't addressed or the leadership wasn't really on board.
That failure often stems from ignoring the bigger picture, which brings us to Polak's core framework for understanding that picture. The 5 buckets of productivity.
Okay, 5 buckets, so it's not just one thing we need to fix.
No, he argues it's a system. You need to address all 5 areas, ideally simultaneously. Think of it like a table with 5 legs.
If one leg is weak, the whole thing wobbles.
Exactly. Focusing only on tech, for instance, while ignoring well-being, means the table is unstable. Productivity suffers.
So what are these 5 buckets? Let's break them down.
Okay, bucket 1 is absence and presenteeism. We touched on presenteeism being there, but mentally checked out. Polak sees this as a massive hidden cost.
And the solution isn't just telling people to focus more.
No. The root cause is often a lack of clarity. If people aren't sure what their real priorities are or how their work contributes, they default to looking busy. Answering every email instantly, attending every meeting, it feels safer than tackling the big important stuff.
So the fix is Leaders need to provide that clarity, cut through the noise.
Drastically reduce organizational noise and define roles and priorities clearly. That's bucket one.
Okay, bucket 2.
Bucket two is well-being. This is fundamental. It's recognizing that people are humans, not machines. Their output depends directly on their physical health, their emotional state, even their financial security.
You can't expect peak performance from someone who's chronically stressed about bills or exhausted from lack of sleep.
Exactly. Polak argues it's futile to demand more from someone whose well-being is compromised. This bucket supports everything else.
Makes sense. What's bucket 3?
Bucket three is engagement. This is about connection and motivation. Do people feel connected to the company's mission? Do they feel valued, seen, empowered?
So not just satisfied, but actively engaged.
Yes. Engaged employees are intrinsically motivated. Polak links high engagement directly to lower error rates, less turnover, and higher quality work. So measuring engagement isn't just an HR nice-to-have, it's a core productivity driver.
Right. Bucket 4 must be technology then.
Bucket four is technology, but viewed through a specific lens. The goal isn't more tech, it's better, more supportive tech. Does the technology actually help the workflow? Does it reduce friction? Or does it add complexity and distraction?
Are the tools serving the people, or are the people serving the tools?
That's the key question for bucket four. And finally, bucket five is optimizing your workday.
This is where the individual tactics come in, like time management.
Exactly. This is about how individuals structure their day, manage their focus, block out time, handle tasks, things like deep work blocks, task batching.
They live here.
But crucially, Polak emphasizes that bucket five only really works if the other four buckets, the culture, the well-being, the engagement, the supportive tech, are reasonably healthy.
Yeah.
You can teach some of the best time management techniques, but if they're burned out or constantly interrupted by a chaotic culture, those techniques will fail.
So the takeaway isn't just download a new productivity app, it's look at the whole system. For listeners managing teams, this means really auditing that environment.
Yes, ask. Are people clear on their purpose? Are they engaged? Are we measuring engagement seriously, not just hours? Because if Polak's right, culture is the engine. And if engagement is low, that engine is sputtering.
That focus on well-being within the 5 buckets ties nicely into another key concept Polak introduces, right? Something he calls well-zilliance.
Yes, well-zilliance. It's key lesson 4, and it's a term he coined himself, merging wellness and resilience.
Okay, so what's the core idea behind well-zilliance?
It's fundamentally about sustainability. It pushes back hard against that hustle culture idea that you have to sacrifice your health for high performance. Polak says that's a false trade-off.
Because health is performance.
They're inseparable.
Yeah.
He argues that high output, driven by stress, caffeine, and no sleep, is just a short-term burst. It's not sustainable. Fatigue, anxiety, burnout, these don't just affect your mood. They directly hammer your cognitive abilities. Your judgment suffers, your focus frays, your ability to bounce back from challenges, your resilience disappears.
He has that powerful quote, productivity without well-being is unsustainable.
And unsustainable performance is no performance at all. It really cuts to the chase. You can't keep running on empty.
It's like that marathon analogy again.
Exactly. Productivity over the long haul is a marathon, not a sprint. To finish strong, you need fuel, wellness, hydration, mental breaks, and strategic rest stops. Resilience is the stamina you build, but you can't build stamina if you're running on fumes. Wellness provides the essential foundation for resilience.
This feels especially critical now with so many people working remotely or in hybrid setups. The lines are so blurred.
They are. And the pressure, sometimes self-imposed, to be constantly on or visible online can be intense. You feel guilty closing the laptop at 5:30.
Right. Or you skip lunch or eat at your desk while firing off emails.
Polak points out that this behavior, while perhaps well-intentioned, is actually a performance killer in the long run. It erodes focus, degrades mood, and ultimately leads to lower quality work, not higher.
So the fix isn't just try harder to focus, it's structural.
It has to be structural and personal. Leaders need to model and enforce real boundaries, protected breaks, reasonable hours, no expectation of instant replies after hours. And individuals need to internalize this too, treating sleep, movement, and breaks not as optional luxuries, but as essential job requirements.
Like investing in your own cognitive capacity.
Exactly. It's an investment in your most valuable asset, your ability to think clearly and effectively.
Which leads us smoothly into the more tactical side. Key lesson 5, optimizing the workday. Polak calls this workday architecture, right?
Yes. If resilience is about having enough fuel in the tank, workday architecture is about designing the vehicle and planning the route for an effective day. It's the blueprint.
And what's the biggest obstacle, according to this blueprint? What throws the architecture off?
Hands down, it's multitasking.
Yeah.
Polak is really firm on this. Avoid it. Just don't do it.
Easier said than done in most workplaces?
It is, because culturally we often still equate busyness and juggling lots of things with being productive. But Polak presents compelling evidence that constantly switching between tasks, which is what multitasking really is, absolutely destroys deep focus.
He uses that laser beam analogy, which I find helpful.
All right, your attention should be like a focused laser, powerful enough to cut through complex problems. Multitasking turns it into a weak, scattered floodlight. Every time you switch tasks, you pay a cognitive cost, a switching tax. It takes time and energy to refocus.
So doing two things at once actually makes both take longer and probably lowers the quality.
Significantly longer, often.
Oh.
And the quality definitely suffers. So how do you build an architecture that supports that laser focus? Polak offers several tactics.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, identify your peak focus hours. This connects back to finding your personal red line or optimal window. When are you naturally sharpest? Maybe it's 9 a.m. to noon for you.
And those hours are sacred.
They need to be treated as sacred, reserved exclusively for your most important, high-impact, cognitively demanding work, the stuff that really moves the needle. No trivial tasks, no random meetings if you can help it.
Second tactic.
Schedule dedicated deep work blocks. Put them in your calendar like important meetings, 2 hours, maybe 3, where interruptions are simply not allowed. Email off, phone silenced, notifications off. This is time for focus creation, strategic thinking, problem solving.
Non-negotiable time.
That's the goal. Third, batch similar tasks together. Instead of reacting to every email as it arrives, group them. Check and respond to email in, say, 2 or 3 specific blocks per day. Handle all your admin tasks in one go. Make all your calls back to back.
Why does batching help so much?
It minimizes that costly task switching. Your brain stays in email mode or admin mode or call mode for a sustained period, which is much more efficient.
Okay, that makes sense. And the last tactic.
Ruthless notification control. This sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Turn off almost all notifications, especially during your peak hours and deep work blocks. Every ping, every buzz, every pop-up forces your brain to break focus and then spend energy getting back on track. It's death by 1,000 tiny interruptions.
So putting resilience and workday architecture together, the actionable steps for listeners are pretty clear.
They require discipline, but yes. Yeah. First, commit to maybe 3 specific wellness habits. Could be 7+ hours sleep, a walk at lunch, truly unplugging after 7 p.m. Track them. Second, fiercely guard your peak energy time. Look at your calendar now. Identify those prime hours and be ruthless about removing low-value activities from that window. Protect your energy edge for the work that matters most.
So we've talked about identifying limits, building culture, fostering well-being, and structuring the workday. What ties it all together? How do we know if any of this is actually working?
That brings us to the crucial final piece, key lesson 6. Embrace change and, importantly, measure what matters. Polak is adamant that becoming more productive isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of refinement.
And you can't refine what you don't measure.
Exactly. But, and this is the critical part, you have to measure the right things. He strongly challenges the old habit of tracking inputs.
Like hours logged or
Yeah.
emails sent.
Yes. Those are measures of effort, maybe, but not necessarily effectiveness. The focus must shift to tracking meaningful outcomes. Real results, project completion, quality improvements, client satisfaction, employee engagement levels, even well-being metrics.
He has that quote about drifting.
If you cannot measure what you're improving, you're likely drifting. It's so true. We use metrics to guide decisions. If our primary metric is hours worked, we'll optimize for keeping people busy, not necessarily for achieving valuable results efficiently.
This leads to what he calls the outcome over input mindset. It sounds logical, but putting it into practice seems hard, especially for managers used to seeing people at their desks.
It is a significant shift, especially in cultures built on visibility. Polak addresses this by distinguishing between necessary coverage in some roles, like customer service, and the metrics used to evaluate performance within that coverage.
So for a customer service rep, the metric isn't, were they logged in for 8 hours?
No. The metric should be things like, what was their first call resolution rate? What was the customer satisfaction score for their interactions? How efficiently did they handle inquiries? It's about the value generated during the time, not the time itself.
So managers need to shift their trust trust the outcomes, not just the presence.
Precisely. Especially in remote or hybrid settings. You have to trust the agreed-upon, measurable objectives, the OKRs or KPIs that reflect actual results, rather than relying on seeing someone look busy on screen. Set clear outcome goals, then measure against those.
It's like that analogy he uses driving at night without a dashboard.
Yeah, without a speedometer or a fuel gauge, you're steering, putting in effort, but you don't know if you're heading towards your goal efficiently or if you're about to run out of gas or even drive off a cliff. Good metrics are your dashboard. They tell you if your strategies are working.
And this applies to individuals too, not just managers.
Absolutely. As an individual, you need your own dashboard. Stop obsessing over hours worked. Start tracking things that reflect your actual contribution and effectiveness. Maybe it's the number of high-priority tasks you completed this week, or a quality score on your work, or maybe even tracking how many focused, deep work sessions you successfully protected.
So the actionable step here is define your own meaningful metrics.
Yes, identify maybe 3 metrics that genuinely reflect success in your role, tied to outcomes or quality, not just activity. Track them for a month to get a baseline. Then, try implementing one change from the book, say, batching your email. Track for another month. Did the metrics improve? Use that data to decide your next move. It's like running small experiments on your own workflow.
That makes productivity improvement feel more like a skill you develop rather than just trying harder. Okay, let's pull it all together. Polak offers a lot of practical advice. Can we synthesize the absolute must-do actions? Maybe like a top 10 list for listeners.
Definitely. We can group them logically, too. Here's a practical checklist based on Work Smart Now. 1. Boundary setting. First, define your work hours based on that critical threshold we talked about. Find your optimal zone and stick to it. This means enforcing rules like no work email or Slack after a certain time, say 7 p.m. Protect your downtime.
Okay, number 1, set firm boundaries.
2. Focus strategy. Be intentional about deep work. Block out time in your calendar, maybe 2 or 3 solid blocks a week, specifically for your most important high-concentration tasks. Treat these blocks as non-negotiable.
Number 2, schedule and protect deep work.
3. Communication management. Tame the communication beast. Stop reactive checking. Batch your email, Slack, etc. into specific windows, maybe 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. only. Turn off notifications outside those windows. Significantly reduce the noise.
3, batch communication, kill notifications.
4. Well-resilience integration. Make wellness non-negotiable. Pick one concrete habit, 7 hours sleep, a midday walk, a proper lunch break away from your screen, and commit to it daily. Treat it as essential fuel.
4, prioritize a specific wellness habit.
5. Protect your energy edge. Know your peak performance times and schedule your hardest mental work then. Save lower energy periods for admin, emails in their batch window, routine tasks. Align tasks with energy levels.
5, match tasks to your energy peaks.
6. Culture and clarity audit for leaders. If you manage people, check. Are roles and priorities crystal clear? Is engagement high? If people don't know what matters most, they'll default to looking busy. Fix clarity first.
6, leaders must ensure clarity and measure engagement.
7. Tool review. Look critically at your tech. Is each tool genuinely simplifying work or adding friction? Ditch redundant or overly complex software if you can. Make tech serve you, not the other way around.
7, audit your tools for real value.
8. Outcome-based metrics. Shift your focus and your team's focus from measuring input, hours, to measuring outcomes, results, quality, impact. Define 2-3 key outcome metrics and track them.
8, measure outcomes, not just hours.
9. Challenge multitasking. Actively fight the urge to multitask on important work. Recognize it as inefficient task switching. Dedicate your full attention to one high-value task at a time. Single tasking is key for quality.
9, stop multitasking on important work.
10. Adapt and iterate. Remember, this is a process, not a destination. Try a strategy for a few weeks, like 4 weeks. Review your metrics. What worked? What didn't? Adjust your approach based on the data. Keep experimenting.
10, treat productivity as an ongoing experiment. That's a fantastic, actionable list. So wrapping this up, Richard Polak's Work Smart Now really feels like a blueprint for escaping that hamster wheel of constant, unproductive busyness. It's not just about individual tips, it's about rethinking the entire system of work.
Absolutely. It promises a shift away from frantic, exhausting effort towards deliberate, intelligent design. The goal is less noise, more focus. Less fatigue, more genuine satisfaction and accomplishment.
If we had to boil it down to the absolute core, maybe 5 key lessons to tweet out.
Okay, let's try. Top 5 from Work Smart Now. 1. Less can be more. Recognize your productivity threshold. Working excessive hours backfires. Quality over quantity.
Right.
2. Culture first. Technology follows culture. An engaged, clear, trusting environment is the true engine of productivity.
Crucial.
3. Well-being matters. Health and energy aren't optional. They're the essential fuel for sustainable high performance. Protect them.
Non-negotiable.
4. Focus blocks beat multitasking. Deep, uninterrupted work on high-value tasks is far more effective than scattered attention. Treat your focus like gold.
Laser beam, not floodlight.
5. Outcome over input. Measure what truly matters, results, quality, impact, not just the hours clocked or emails sent.
That really sums up the shift he's advocating for. It feels like by applying these ideas, individuals and hopefully organizations too can start to reclaim not just time, but also energy and maybe even find more meaning in their work.
That's the hope. The focus has to be on designing work in a way that puts the human, their well-being, their need for clarity, their capacity for focused contribution right back at the center of the process, moving from just grinding away to working mindfully and strategically.
A powerful message. Thank you for tuning into this summary from our channel, Book by Book. If you found these insights from Work Smart Now helpful, please do take a moment to subscribe to the Book by Book channel. That way you won't miss out on more helpful book summaries like this one.
And please share it with colleagues or friends who might be feeling that busy but not productive strain.
Yes, please do share it. And also, give this summary a like. It really does motivate us to keep digging into these books and bringing you the best summaries